And all new, the RCWR Show, coming at you for this Monday night of September the 16th, 2019, covering the very latest in wrestling, entertainment, and beyond since 2011. Welcome one, and welcome all. Man, I gotta tell you, man, off the break, solid episode of Monday Night Raw. I enjoyed it very much. I mean, coming fresh off of the Clash of Champions pay-per-view event and everything, just in general, for me, this was one of the most enjoyable episodes of Raw for me in quite some time. And I don't mean it for just what was going on from the Bray Wyatt Fiend standpoint. Just when you really take a step back and you just look at everything that had came about tonight, it's really hard, even if you're the most critical fan of the WWE product and you like to just poke a whole lot of holes and stuff. I would even like to say that the most critical fan would even say, no, you know what? It really seemed like they tried to put a lot of effort into making this a really good episode. So I got to give them a lot of props, even right down to the color commentating. We'll talk a lot more about that in just a little bit. But hey, I do appreciate you guys that are checking out the show right now. One thing that I do want to do while I am given the formalities and everything, you know, we're streaming right now on YouTube. So for those of you that's checking this out live, appreciate that. Kind gesture as always. And then also, we are also streaming the show in the Discord chat as well. So for those of you that maybe want to hop on in there in the Discord, you know, say a little something, you can definitely do that as well. Keeping it a little simple tonight, I was going to have the show streaming live via the RCWR Show app. I didn't want to keep you guys waiting any longer during the stream because we had a little bit of a delay there. So, but we'll definitely be bringing back the live show app stream on next week's show, right? Because I know there's a lot of you guys that like accessing the show via the app as well. But anyway, yeah, overall, a really great episode of Monday Night Raw tonight. I really freaking enjoyed it on so many levels. Even right down, I would have to say, to the color commentating tonight. This was one of the most rarest occasions that I can recall that I actually enjoyed the dialogue between Cole, Renee Young, and Corey Graves. And I actually had complimented them on Twitter. I at them, right? And it's very seldom I will at somebody. Like normally if I'm just trying to make a point about something, I'll usually just say it. But there are times when, okay, maybe if a show is on, I may say, hey, it's time for at. But like typically I do not directly at somebody, not usually, right? Even if it's like somebody we see on television every single week, I don't normally go in that route. But I enjoyed the commentating tonight from Cole, Graves, and Young so much. I actually added them on Twitter. They may read it, they may not. I don't care, but I just wanted it to be known that, you know, hey, I know that there's some weeks where we as fans, we aren't really feeling the color commentating that's coming from them. Some of them, we really want to just shut the hell up and maybe just let this person speak instead or whatever. But they flowed really well tonight. For me, it really felt as though they finally had reached their creative peak as far as building on that rapport, that camaraderie, you know, really understanding each other's flows, and everything was just perfectly so timed when they were just jumping in on, you know, on whatever thought, finishing each other's. I mean, great one-liners all throughout the night. Even Cole, you know, I know a lot of times Cole gets a bit of a bad rep, but there are times, especially when you've seen his work and heard his work rather, for WWE Network specials and all that, there are times where Cole can really just be loose. And I think when Cole is really just loose, that's when there's really some magic in there. And tonight was a rare example of what really happens if you just kind of just take your foot off the pedal a little bit and just have a little bit of indulgence, you know, so to speak. So really, I enjoyed that tonight. And I found myself wanting a lot more. Now, I know we got this whole draft thing that's going to be coming up. And hey, look, I don't know what's going to happen with that color commentating team. I really, really don't. But if we are seeing this trio for the last time, these next couple of weeks, then I kind of think it sucks, quite honestly, because what I heard tonight, it's, man, where was this all the other times during the week? We could have used a lot more of this. And you could say, nah, it kind of felt like it's always been there. Not so much. I feel as though, if anything, it was really, if you're paying attention to the color commentators on Raw, I think you're really paying attention to what Corey has to say, right? Yeah, Cole, he can give you a little bit of context, so to speak, or whatever. And depending on what's going on with Renee, I think the opinions towards Renee, it varies, right? It just really depends what's happening with her that week. I think we can just kind of politely leave it at that. But this was one of those rare occasions where, wow, all right, these guys are really off on all cylinders. They're carrying themselves very well. Enjoyed Renee. I really, really did. And usually when I'm watching Monday Night Raw, I usually have the volume down and I'll have closed captioning on. And because usually I don't care about the color commentating. I'll actually check out the color commentating during the matches for SmackDown and the pay-per-views, as opposed to actually seeing what's going on with the commentating for Raw. So for me, nice, good step up, just I don't know, if we can get a little bit more of it like what they did tonight and leave that trio as it is, I think fans would honestly have no problem with it whatsoever. But we'll see what happens once that draft comes about, and we'll talk a little bit more about that during the show. I don't know if it'll happen during the initial live web stream or if that'll be part of the second half of the RCWR show for on demand and on the downloads. But let's continue on, shall we? So putting the complimentaries out there for the commentating team, the rest of the product tonight. Now look, I like going in with the high praise. Was there a couple of areas, though, that made me say, yeah, one of the first things, the opening to Raw, having Seth Rollins come out there and he's, giving props to the crowd, he's acknowledging them, and he's coming out there, big old smile on his face and everything. I that kind of rubbed me just a little bit wrong, and I'll tell you the reason why. Because one of the last things that we had saw of Seth Rollins at the Clash of Champions pay-per-view event was him being manhandled by the Fiend Bray Wyatt, right? So when I think about the Fiend, I think about, man, this creature, this weird freaking entity, right? This dark, mysterious, demonic, deranged character really can just tap into your psyche and just whatever confidence you have unshake you. And who knows what evil lurks in the hearts of men, right? It's a guy like the Fiend Bray Wyatt, right? Or just the Fiend. Let's just leave it at the Fiend. So kind of keeping all that in mind, I didn't like the body language of Seth Rollins as he was coming out there. I kind of wish that it was a case where his music played. And it's not all Seth's fault. When it's all said and done, he can only take some of the blame. I got to put most of the blame on the writers for this. But I would have had Seth come out, a delayed come out as well. I would have had the music playing. And as the music is playing, what's up, Austie? As the music is playing, no Seth Rollins off the break. So then you're kind of saying, well, what exactly is going on with Seth? Why hasn't Seth come out yet? Man, he's usually pretty preppy. He's pretty prompt when his music cues up. What's going on here? And then after about maybe, I don't know, you could do like maybe a 20-second delay. Then you could have Seth Rollins coming out. And Seth should have kind of gingerly, look around, kind of look behind him a little bit. And then you could have easily had the color commentators follow up on that and say, hey, not for nothing, but Seth Rollins had a grueling night at the pay-per-view last night. He defended 2 titles. Sadly, he's no longer the tag team champion, but hey, the title that really counts the most there, especially if you want to be sitting on top of the world, which is that Universal Championship, Seth Rollins is still the man. I don't blame him for the body language he's displaying to us, Cole. I mean, after all, we got to remind the folks what happened there. Closing moments after he had the match won against Braun Strowman, and you talk about the Fiend and all that. So I really wish we could have had Seth Rollins gingerly and just kind of, mind his surroundings a little bit, and then kind of go into the ring and then talk a little bit. He could have said, hey, guys, y'all got to forgive me. Normally, I like to come out here after a hard-fought win, and man, what happened at the pay-per-view last night, for you guys that had missed it. Then you can go into your whole pitch like he did afterwards, but play up the fact that this entity, this dark entity known as the Fiend, really do a better job in selling the fuck out of it. And again, I can only give but so much blame to Seth in how that was executed. I got to put most of it on the writers. So if the writers did not think about that, which obviously it really kind of comes off as if they didn't, then that's a huge drop right there. But they definitely redeemed themselves. I felt the segment was just going to be Seth's just talking basically. And I love the fact that, okay, no. All right, let's redeem ourselves here. Boom. We get our first Firefly Funhouse segment with Bray Wyatt. And I love the back and forth between him and Seth. I love that. I did take down a couple of notes as far as what had came about from the show, but I only want to talk about some key bullet points there. But I love how Bray Wyatt basically had said, friends forgive, but the Fiend never forgets. And yeah, so I like that. And he tried to justify the Fiend doing what he did to Seth Rollins at the pay-per-view by saying, hey, maybe that's why the Fiend wanted to say hello to you at Clash of Champions. So I love that, and I love how he did that tease. Hey, maybe he's going to have even more to say to you tonight. See you in hell. And you're going, oh, okay, so stick around. Okay, I like the carry. As I always like to say from time to time, what's the carry? When you're giving me that opening act, right? And you're trying to get me to stick around for a majority of the show. What's that carrot that you're dangling over my head that's going to make me want to stick around, to see, okay, so what's happening as far as, okay, this is the opening act. Now we got to go to act 2. Okay, bring us on home. What's up with the conclusion? So I love how they sporadically, and notice this. I don't know how many of y'all that watch Raw tonight really peeped this out, but we pretty much had got Bray Wyatt all 3 hours. He pretty much did his thing. I think there was one segment where he did, I almost want to say it felt like during hour 1 we saw him twice, because I know the next time we saw him he was hanging up some pictures on his wall, and basically it was his wall of fame. It was basically guys the Fiend has taken out so far, which was Kurt Angle, as you know, Mick Foley, right? All those guys. So he was talking about how maybe the Fiend's going to add a couple of more to his collection or whatever. So I know that first hour, I want to say we saw 2 Wyatt segments. And then the second hour, there was another segment. I sadly can't remember how that had played out, but I love how things pretty much had culminated during that third hour, that final time. Good stuff. Love how they had placed all that. But, aside from the Wyatt, even if it was just a case where you just had one Wyatt segment, it was actually pretty badass how the whole episode had played out creatively. Yeah. So I'm actually looking very forward to seeing Seth Rollins and Bray Wyatt and what they're going to be able to do in less than 3 weeks at the Hell in a Cell pay-per-view. Yeah, less than 3 weeks. We got a Hell in a Cell pay-per-view. Sheesh, man. I really don't have enough time to get prepared for these pay-per-views. But hey, man, it is what it is. All right, so by the way, we thought that maybe somebody in the back was drunk because we saw some graphics after that opening segment there. The segment clips, the graphics that they showed, they were upside down. So we had a graphic about the King of the Ring finals between Baron Corbin and Chad Gable. That was upside down. There was a tag match that had consisted of, who was it? Alexa Bliss and Nikki Cross. I sadly cannot remember the other 2 girls that they faced. I'll need for you guys to kind of jog my memory on that one. I kind of remember Sasha Banks being in there. I'll leave it up to you guys to kind of get me caught up to speed on that one. But yeah, that graphic and the King of the Ring graphic, those were upside down. So you're kind of wondering what's going on with the graphics. Is somebody drunk tonight? Because like normally, this shit's spontaneously like it's a given any single night on a Monday night or just any WWE programming period. The graphics are usually on point. Yeah, worst case scenario, you'll have a couple of misspelled little things here and there, but to do some shit where it's upside down, it's like, man, what's going on here? So that was actually pretty. Was this a purpose? Was it done on purpose? Because of what we saw with the Firefly segment, like, what's going on there? Well, we get our answer at the end of the night. I know we're kind of going a little bit all over the place. I don't really like going in a chronological order when it comes to the talk of Raw. I like to just kind of talk about the bullet points, but we would see how it would play out later on in the night. Sasha and Bayley, thank you, Austin. So it was Nikki Cross and Alexa. They have faced Sasha and Bayley, and I'll talk a little bit more about that match in a little bit, but kind of just staying on the whole Fiend thing. So remember how I told you, pretty much it opens up with Wyatt. Okay, closing out Raw tonight was Wyatt, right? This time dressed up as the Fiend gimmick. And I love how that played out. So we saw a match between Seth Rollins and Robert Roode. It was actually a pretty good one-on-one matchup. But then it was a good matchup. Seth Rollins ended up picking up the win. But Ziggler, who else had came out? I'm trying to think. Feels like I could have sworn the OC had actually came out. I could have sworn the OC came out. But I know they did a numbers game on Seth Rollins. That's the point that I'm making. There was a serious numbers game that was done on him. And then Hellfire and Brimstone cue up the freaking music of my man Kane, Glenn Jacobs. And that made a lot of sense because after all, Raw tonight was in Knoxville, Tennessee. So it made a lot of sense. I'm happy. Very rare have I found myself to be in a position where, hey, Glenn Jacobs, all right, good, it was nice seeing him because I actually did miss him. I was actually thinking about him a couple of weeks ago. Like, man, we haven't seen him in WWE for a good minute now. Wonder what's going on with him. So it's actually pretty nice to see him. And again, I got Marcus saying that it was in fact the OC that came out and did the numbers game there on Rollins. So thank you for that. Appreciate that, bud. Yeah, so Kane came out, tried to even up the odds and everything. He pretty much cleaned house, right? And I mean, vintage Kane is all I gotta say. Vintage freaking Kane was looking good. Kane standing there in the middle of the ring. You're like, okay, so it's gonna end with Seth Rollins, Kane standing strong, standing tall. Okay, great, go home. Fine with that. Nah, man. Lights go out. You hear the Wyatt music. Flickering lights, all that shit. A little bit of light that you do see. You find that the Fiend is right behind Kane. Kane is standing there, not shaking. He's just kind of like, okay, I kind of know what this guy is about. I'm standing tall. I'm maintaining my position. I'm going to see what this guy is about. Well, he turns around. Wyatt hits him with the mandible claw, and I gotta tell you, something new that Wyatt has been adding while he's been doing this mandible claw. I love the fact that now when he's doing this mandible claw on people, the people that he's doing it to, go back, look at what he did to Kane, look at what he did to Seth Rollins last night, and then last opponent before that. Now they're screaming, they're really selling the fuck out of that mandible claw. And then you've got Wyatt, who's in his mask. You can't really see his face. You can't really see his mouth. He's hollering all kinds of weird, shit, mumbo jumbo stuff. So all of that and just the whole visual package, I love it. I love all of that. It's really, really fucking, I love it. The visual, everything, it's fantastic. So it's those little things that really make you go, man, this is really good stuff here. So that pretty much had closed out Monday Night Raw. Now some of you may say, Lee, isn't it interesting that we had Wyatt do what he did to Kane, and now he can essentially add Kane on his wall of fame, but yet when The Undertaker was doing his thing on SmackDown, there was no Undertaker Fiend crossover. Honestly, I personally feel, don't rule that out. I wouldn't be surprised if maybe that might be some type of a WrestleMania deal. Seriously. Just, man, can you just take a step back and just think about all of the cool things as far as matchups go, the psychological games that you can have with a guy like Fiend. You know what I'm saying? Like, Gino. Gino said, are you going to talk about other things too, or is it just a little Raw review? Gino, where you been, man? You must not have been watching the whole show the past couple of weeks that we've moved the show back to Monday. Yeah, in case some of you guys don't know, and I'm happy to take a sidebar and let you guys know this. The show that you get on Monday nights, we're talking Raw a little bit more since it is on Monday nights. However, also during the initial webcast, I sprinkle in a couple of tidbits of headlines. So it just depends on what's happening during the week. Sometimes I can just come in and we can talk Raw, and then I'll talk about some wrestling related stuff, or I'll talk both things and I'll slide in some non-wrestling related stuff. In case you guys don't know, the one thing that we're doing with the Monday night shows when we're streaming it live, I'm now doing a hard like 1 hour and 15 minutes because I got to get up so early for work the next day. And unfortunately, when you got the type of schedule I have, you got to get as much sleep as possible. And then also this week and the next week, I'm teaching some classes. So for me, here on now, when I'm doing the shows on Mondays, way we've been doing it, I do like a hard 1 hour, 15 minutes, maybe an hour and 20 minutes. I get in as much as I can. And then for those that check out the show on demand and on the downloads, I include an additional 30 to 40 minutes of bonus topics that didn't get covered during the initial webcast. So say for instance, you want to know my thoughts about SmackDown. Usually I am watching SmackDown Tuesday nights. That also gives me a little bit of an opportunity to see if there's any other things that had came about from the Monday night show as I'm mixing everything down on Tuesday. And then I'm putting everything together and then I put it out there Tuesday night. So in case you guys haven't figured out how we've been doing the show, now you know. But understand something, it isn't a full-blown Raw recap, but we do talk a little bit more about Raw. You can go back to the previous episodes and kind of get the gist, kind of get a feel for pretty much how we've been doing it, okay? But we still go a little bit all over the place to answer the question. So anyway, let's get back to a little bit more talk of Monday's Raw, because again, I was being very complimentary of this. It's not every day. And if you've been noticing the past couple of weeks, I've been more and more, supportive. I've been more and more, okay, this was actually good. This was a good thing. This was a bad thing. Where were we? We were talking about the whole Fiend thing, right? We were talking about that. Not for nothing, but before Kane came out, we got to see Glenn Jacobs. Not Kane in the Kane gimmick. We got to see Glenn Jacobs, the mayor, right? And he was giving R-Truth a personal tour of the whole Knoxville area, and it pretty much had culminated in Kane taking him to some college. I think it was a college or a high school football field. It had to have been a college football team or whatever. But he basically took him to this arena. And R-Truth is like, oh, what's going on here? And he's like, oh, this is where we have our volunteers or some jazz like that. And I just love the whole comedic timing of R-Truth and how he was like, oh, you talking about Salvation Army volunteers? And a police officer is introduced, right? And the police officer introduced himself, and Kane's like, oh, yeah, me, blah, 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 blah. And it turns out the freaking cop is a damn referee. Right, is a damn referee, and Kane just pretty much is trying to go after that 24/7 title. R-Truth tries to haul ass, runs head first into a goalpost, knocked out. Kane goes for the cover, 3 count, 24/7 champion. Love that spot. And see, this really plays into what I had said a couple of months ago. There were a couple of people that were like, Nah, man, that's not exactly what's going to happen. But one of the earliest things that I had said right after Mick Foley had introduced the 24/7 title, I said, hey, now that you have this title the way that it is, the fact that it's a 24/7 title, you can pretty much do all kinds of fun shit. The way this title has basically been designed, it's going to carry on outside of the shows. You're going to be able to do stuff basically in a way where people kind of have to stay connected to WWE throughout social media, because you just never know what's going to happen with that title. From media appearances, you name it, that title is pretty much 24/7, right? And some people were like, no, they had said it's only going to be defended during the third hour of Raw. And it's kind of like, whatever, just kick back, wait and see. And now you see how everything had played out with that title. So I really love how they are just being so creative with this, and how random people, celebrities, the whole 9 yards. I love all that. And tonight, just seeing Glenn Jacobs in there, hot minute, 24/7 champion, good shit right there. We got a new King of the Ring 2019 winner, and his name is King Corbin. Now we can cue up Metallica's "Where's Your Crown, King Corbin? Where's your crown?" And when I'm saying "Where's your crown," I'm actually encouraging Corbin to, wear the crown. So where's the crown, King Corbin? Yeah. Damn, man. He made Chad Gable look like $1 million tonight, and I gotta give it up to him. I really hope that you guys that have been hating Corbin for a period of time, I really hope you've been able to kind of take a step back and really been appreciating the body of work that he's been doing these past several weeks. And I gotta tell you something, if I were to really kind of pinpoint it on, okay, now it really seems like the fans they still don't like him, but they're now starting to respect what he's doing in that ring, what he's capable of, not just from a in-ring standpoint, but also on the mic and everything. I think they really started to come around to him when we had that damn match at the pay-per-view a couple of months back, the intergender joint, when he teamed up with Lacey Evans to take on Seth and Becky Lynch for their titles and everything. Y'all remember this crazy ass spot that Corbin had did with Becky, and man, that just, it kind of seems like at that point, even though Corbin was already months, mind you, really doing a good job in turning everything around, it kind of really seemed as though at that particular point, okay, you know what, maybe this guy isn't as bad as we think he is. And now, man, I mean, what he did tonight, for me, it just even solidified even more how good of a wrestler he is, and just as far as the total package, right? Those essentials that you need for longevity. He's really, really bringing it all together. But what he did with Chad Gable tonight, really, I love the psychology of that match. I love how you basically are looking at a guy as big as Corbin. You're looking at a guy as small as Chad Gable. Shout out to the way that the commentators had talked about this match. Really put over Chad Gable. Brought up his amateur pro wrestling background. Talked about how he had tried to, he actually had trained and tried to go into the Olympics, and Corey Graves, but he came up short. Doesn't matter. Like, he still represented the country and all that. I just love everything that went into telling the story about these guys fighting. But of all the matches of Raw tonight, I have to single that match out in particular for you guys that did not watch Raw yet. If there's one match I say, go back, check out, that's the match that you definitely want to go out of your way and check out. Another thing I want to bring up, you kind of noticing how we're sporadically, if you watch Raw, you're noticing now, since I've been talking about it, we're not going in a particular order. And the way that we normally do it when we're talking about Raw here, we're pretty much just going over key points. That's it. I'm just particularly talking about the things that caught my eye, and that's it. Another thing that caught my eye from an English subtitle standpoint, we got the reintroduction of the Authors of Pain. We pretty much have not seen the Authors of Pain since like right before, right at WrestleMania. They hadn't been seen since. Now we see the AOP guys, Razir and Akeem, and they're basically in suits, And this is a pre-packaged, mind you. This is a pre-produced segment that we're seeing, right? And basically, they're speaking in their native language, and you've got English subtitle below. And they're basically talking about how we know a lot of people haven't seen us pretty much since WrestleMania, right before WrestleMania. Understand something, and I'm paraphrasing here, but they pretty much were like, understand something. We both have trained in the MMA world, and we fought many people, and it got to a point where nobody wanted to fight us anymore in the MMA. We were making good money, and nobody wanted to fight us. So eventually, we took our talents to the WWE, and you saw what we were able to do in the tag team division. Well, now all the people in the tag team division, they don't want to fight us anymore. So, we haven't been able to get paid. But hey, WWE tag team division, we're putting all of you guys on notice because, as far as we're concerned, you all aren't men. You guys are fucking soft, and we're going to show you guys that. So to get the reintroduction of AOP, and then they're talking in their native language, I gotta tell you, man, I enjoyed the hell out of that, because I know I shouldn't put all of my eggs in a basket, but to see them do something like that, as long as I can recall watching Monday Night Raw in particular, I could even say SmackDown, but for the sake of the argument, let's just go with Raw. I can't remember a time where, hey, look, we're going to throw up this wrestler on a Titantron. For those of you at home, they're just going to pop up on their TV. It's going to be a pre-produced segment, and they're going to talk, and we're going to give you some English subtitle. Enjoy, right? And if you have been listening to the show for such a long period of time, you know that there are wrestlers who I adore. I have a lot of respect for. I'm looking at you, Asuka. I'm looking at you, Shinsuke Nakamura, right? I'm looking at you, Kairi Sane. And I have said, man, even with a guy like, oh my God, who was the guy that was doing the GTS there? Hideo Itami. I was saying, man, just freaking let them speak their native language. Give us the freaking English subtitle. And or if push comes to shove, have a good manager that can, basically translate or whatever. Go back to those times. But like, man, if you're really trying to get this talent over, don't let the language barrier be the thing that's the hang up, right? Because you're really missing out on truly tapping into their greatest potential, right? And so I don't want to get all my eggs in a basket, but just kind of seeing that tonight, it really kind of gave me hope as far as, you know what, maybe as far as the future, maybe on the norm. And I would hope that there's not a lot of complaints about that particular segment on social media, at least from the fans that were in attendance. Hey, depending on where we were sitting, we couldn't read that shit, right? And I countered that many times when we talked about it off and on over the years. I said, hey, for the people that are in the arenas and they're watching these segments on the Titantron, simple, just have your text still, but also have a English voiceover actor pop up and say what they need to say. That way, depending on where you're sitting in the arena, you're actually going to be okay, right? So I'm hoping this is the start of things to come. We'll wait and see. Honestly, look, repackage AOP, I'm okay with it, because the thing with Drake Maverick, it never clicked for me. And then when they removed Paul Ellering away from them, it just took away that whole mystique, that bad, just everything that was cool about them from down in NXT. And for the record, in case you guys are like, yeah, how come Paul Ellering never did? Well, Paul Ellering was never asked, because I remember he responded to a report, because you had the reports, he's up there in age and he can't tour, blah, blah, blah. And he set the record straight. He was like, I'm fine. He's like, nobody ever asked me. So you kind of wonder, well, what would have happened had they asked Paul Ellering, right? But it is what it is. One other thing that had caught my eye tonight was the Maria Kanellis baby shower, or baby reveal. That caught my eye. It wasn't Mike Kanellis, apparently. Apparently the baby daddy was Ricochet. And this had pretty much led to a match. Now, you know what? This felt a little stupid, but I like how Corey Graves in the game, they cleaned it up. again, remember what I said at the top, very complimentary in how Cole and the gang really had flow tonight and everything. And there were areas that was kind of, they cleaned it up really good. So you got Maria Kanellis revealing that Mike is not the baby daddy, that it's actually Ricochet. Ricochet's like, hey man, I didn't do anything with her. I wouldn't do anything with her. I mean, not for nothing. I mean, she is beautiful and all, but no, I didn't do anything with her. And you've got Mike Kanellis pissed off at him, smacking him around and everything, saying, I'm going to see you in the ring. And it's like, well, wait a minute, man. What about Maria? It's like, it takes two to tango, right? So shouldn't you also be mad at Maria? Like, where's your balls, dude? Like seriously, right? So you go to the thing and everything, and I like the psychology of that. You know, it wasn't a wrestling match. If you really kind of take a step back and you think about it, it really wasn't a wrestling match, because you had Ricochet, who did not want to fight. Keep that in mind. What Mike wanted was a fight, and he wanted to fight Ricochet in the ring. Ricochet did not want to fight him, but Mike just kept being the aggressor, slapping him around, all that. So eventually they start brawling and everything. Ricochet pretty much gets the upper hand. Maria comes right back out and she says, you know, dude, you suck. You're sorry. You're a sorry excuse of a man. I thought by telling you that Ricochet was the baby daddy, I thought that would light a fire under your ass. And she pretty much revealed, hey, everything I've been doing these past couple of weeks, I've been trying to light a fire under your eyes, and you just are not able to rise to the occasion. So she goes, look, he's not the baby daddy, obviously. Come on now, seriously. Like, no, the real baby daddy is Rusev. And Rusev is back. Rusev looks better than ever. I mean, it's going to take me a while to get used to the Freddie Mercury mustache and everything, but Rusev, man, damn, you just go back to his NXT days. He's in the best shape of his career right now, I have to say. I mean, he is lean, he is mean. That dude looks fucking, man, I mean, he's lost even more bulk, but he's made up for it in the coolest way possible. He's really toned up, really fucking toned up. He looks good. Mike Kanellis didn't want any part of Rusev, but Rusev didn't care. Rusev Manchka, Rusev Crush, that pretty much was the end of him. So good stuff. So notice that stuff I just said tonight. So you had Kane return, you had Rusev make his return, you had Bray Wyatt. You had a good match there between Rey Mysterio and Cesaro. All in all, you had a great King of the Ring matchup with Baron Corbin, Chad Gable. All in all, Raw got a solid pass for me tonight. Definitely had enjoyed it. All right, so other than that, there really is not anything else I want to get into with regards to Monday Night Raw. So I do want to get into some wrestling headlines and some other stuff. But before we get ready to do that, I do want to take this time out. We should have done this about maybe 15 minutes ago. I do want to take a time out, and I want to recognize some of our sponsors for tonight. And we're also going to get into some Patreon shout outs. I'll get into the Patreon shout outs a little bit later, but we got some sponsors we need to recognize, because without their kind contributions, as well as our Patreon members, but definitely our sponsors, without all of them, their kind contributions, content like what you're checking out right now, honestly, it really wouldn't be made possible. And if it was possible, we'd be charging. So we do appreciate them tremendously. First up, I want to give a shout out to nationaltoystores.com, making toys great again. Also want to give a shout out to shiaboo.com. And what I want to do right now, I just want to let those two ads play. So you guys are going to hear a little bit of audio in promoting them. And then when we come on back, we'll continue on with the talk of all things wrestling and beyond. You are checking out the RCWR Show. Tonight's edition of the RCWR Show with Lee Sanders is brought to you in part by nationaltoystores.com. Folks, I want for you to bookmark that site. You will thank me later, especially you parents out there. I know it can be a little bit tough these days with some of the commercials that you see running around for toys, and let's be honest, the toys that kids are playing with today, it's nothing like we had growing up, especially especially from a educational standpoint, right? Well, nationaltoystores.com, they've got a simple slogan, which is making toys great again, right? Remember the fun, the excitement that you had as a kid when you were learning how to spell or learning how to count, maybe playing chess for the first time, checkers, you name it. Well, nationaltoystores.com, they've got cool little knickknacks of toys that's great for children of all ages. So check them out. You have nothing to lose, but so much to gain. And hey, check this out. If you're ordering from nationaltoystores.com for the very first time, you get 10% off of your order. That's right, 10% off of your first order with National Toy Store. So what are you waiting for? Head on over there right now, the National Toy Store. Hit them up, the National Toy Store. Their URL, nationaltoystores.com. One more time, nationaltoystores.com. I'll give that to you one more time, nationaltoystores.com. And you can always check out the link in the episode description of this very episode to take you directly to their website. National Toy Stores, making toys great again. Hey fellas and ladies, listen up. If you're like me, you care a great deal about your skin. You want to make sure your skin is hydrated as much as possible and is healthy, nice, smooth, and oh so tight. You gotta pay special attention to this as you get older. Above all else, you gotta make sure the ingredients you're putting on your skin isn't harmful and instead is oh so natural. That's why I choose Shiabu Natural Cosmetics. Shiabu has the best all-natural skincare products made from all-natural organic oils and shea butter. They offer the best vegan skincare products, from toning lotions, anti-wrinkle and dark spot correction, hair food, hair cream, and so much more. Need some free samples? Oh yeah, you can find it at shiabu.com. Get 10% off your first purchase from Shiabu's all-natural skin and hair products when you sign up for their newsletter. So what are you waiting for? Head on over there right now, shiabu.com. That's spelled SHEABU.com. Shiabu.com. One more time, shiabu.com. All right, and we are back. All right. Oh, I love those ad breaks, man. I love those. Hey, let's get into some Patreon shout-outs. I want to just hammer it out right now. I mean, we might as well, and then we can get on with the rest of the show here. By the way, if you guys are not following me on Twitter, there was some shit that had basically went down like late last week, pretty much going into the weekend. And you guys know exactly what I'm talking about if you're following me on social media, right? But in case you guys don't know, I'm gonna kind of give you like the summarized version, basically. If you guys don't know, me and my good friend Anthony Missionary Thomas from Wrestling Soup, we have done a series of interviews with some key members, part of the WOW Women of Wrestling roster. So far, we've talked to Selena Majors, aka Bambi, who is the creative director and also one of the trainers for WOW Women of Wrestling. We also talked to the founder and owner of WOW Women of Wrestling, Mr. David McClain. And then probably tonight, maybe right before I get ready to call it a night, or maybe Tuesday morning, I'm going to release the Till Piper interview for our Patreon members only. I don't want you guys getting your panties in a bunch. Patreon members get first dibs. You are interested in checking out the audio, it'll be available as a free-for-all. I'm thinking probably Thursday or maybe Friday. We'll see. Maybe Thursday. So there was an issue with a transcript for the for the Selena Majors interview, and when it was all said and done, some of what I said was omitted. And one of the key things that was omitted when it ended up being published on a particular website, I'm not even mentioning their name anymore, but the people involved at this website, they had omitted Missionary. They didn't give him any credit at all. So if you're looking at the thumbnail for the interview and you're listening to the interview, you see my logo, my face, you see Mish, you see the Wrestling Soup logo, and you're like, what the fuck is going on here? Yet there's only credit for Lee. Like, what the hell is up with that? And there was a whole bunch of bullshit that had went down. And I've received, I said it on Twitter, but I want to make sure officially for the record, I'm saying it here on the show. I appreciate the many of you that went out of your way to listen to the Patreon edition of the RCWR show. I don't even think it was the RCWR show. I don't know what the hell it was. It didn't feel like an RCWR show, but I guess we can, quotations, it kind of was an RCWR show. I don't know. But I appreciate the many of you that had checked out that audio and shared your thoughts. I've been getting a lot of support. People saying, really appreciate you putting the spotlight on a dark area and what's going on with some of these wrestling journalists and wrestling websites and all that. If you guys did not check it out, it is a free-for-all, okay? So all you got to do, patreon.com/RCWR Show. Click on posts or whatever, you can find it, and it's free to download. You don't have to cough up any money or anything. But as I always tell people, if you want to support the show even further, consider being a Patreon member. $5 a month, you get access to some really great new content. Great majority you ain't going to be able to find anywhere else. And shout out to Freddie. Freddie, one of our longtime RCWR show listeners and supporters. He had upgraded his package. He went with the Black Avenger tier package, which is the ultimate package. A lot of cool perks come with that. He's going to be hosting a few shows with me. We got to sit down and figure out how his schedule is going to be looking in a couple of weeks. But the grand prize of them all is I do a painting or a drawing of basically, your choice. And in this particular case, Freddie was like, man, you got to give me a painting on Bray Wyatt, dog. I said, okay, so that's good. And the thing is, it's very seldom I draw and paint. Normally, if I draw and paint, it's got to be for a worthy cause, or very rare I'm in a spontaneous mood or something of that nature. But it's really got to be for a worthy cause or whatever, because that takes a lot of time. It takes a lot of energy. I love it, but it takes a lot of time. It takes a lot of energy. So I've been retired for a couple of years from drawing and painting. So Freddie is bringing me out of retirement to do this painting. So going to actually be this week getting some supplies. And for those of you that maybe want to check out the journey, we're definitely going to be having some really cool stuff we'll be able to share on social media. There'll be a lot of Patreon exclusives and things of that nature. But patreon.com/RCWR Show. I want to give a shout out to John Krauser. John Krauser all month long this month in September. He is going to be doing his Brain Freak live show. If there are those of you that's going to be traveling to the Chicago area, or you live in the Chicago area and you need to have a good laugh going into the weekend, check out John Krauser and his Brain Freak live show. Tickets, man, you can't beat the ticket prices. I mean, you're getting them at a steal. I thought the prices for DC Improv, which starts at like $30-40 was something. Nah, for John Krauser and his show, it's like $10-11 freaking dollars. If you're a student, you get even better discount. You want more information, all you got to do, you can check out the episode description. I included the link there, or in a Bing Google search, type in John Krauser, Second City, and it's the first link. You can't miss it. And you spell Krauser, Kraus as in Sam, ER. That's Krauser. So appreciate him. Appreciate Justin Rabach, Sean Kinter, Tony Bean Gaming. You guys want the very latest news, reviews on cool characters, new features, the whole 9 yards with regards to Marvel Ultimate Alliance for the Nintendo, or Marvel Strike Force, or the upcoming MOBA game, Marvel Super Wars. Tony Bing is your guy. He's also got a pretty solid Patreon page as well that you guys can support. Freddie, thank you once again. Michael Wolf, John Davis, Anthony Missionary Thomas of Wrestling Soup, and shout out to Joe Raymond Jr. All right, let's rock and roll. Let's keep it rocking, keep it rolling. Let's get into some more stuff here. So, man, Big Kaz had made the news over the weekend, and my thoughts, nothing but positivity, nothing but strength to this young man. He is going through some some dark days right now. In case those of you had missed it, or maybe you wanted me to just offer my thoughts about this a little bit more, let's assume you guys don't know what happened. Apparently, he was involved at there was an altercation that had came about at a WrestlePro event over the weekend. Because, as you all know, also goes by the name, Cass XL or whatever. Yeah, Big Cass will name William Morrissey. He was involved in an altercation at an independent wrestling event. This was on Saturday night. So the report that is out is that he appeared at a Northeast wrestling event in Waterbury, Connecticut on Friday without incident. All right, no problems. Also booked for this same show were Joey Janela and Kaz's tag team partner in the WWE, Enzo Amore. And as you all know, there was that thing that went down, what was it, at a Blink 182 concert a couple of months back between Joey Janela and Enzo, right? That just had the entire social media going, what the fuck, right? Okay, so Amore, Janela, you know about that. Apparently, between all three of these guys, Friday night, everything was good. Everything was good. Business was business. No problems whatsoever. Okay. Kaz and Janela, they were also booked on the WrestlePro show on Saturday night in Rahway, New Jersey, which basically was to serve as a farewell event for the show's promoter, Pat Buck, who's joining the WWE as a producer. Okay. Now, according to Wrestling Observer, Kaz had showed up at WrestlePro in what's being described as a belligerent state. He threatened and possibly may have slapped Janela. Kaz also claimed that a sweater had been stolen from him and threatened people in the locker room if he didn't find it. And so he ended up getting into a confrontation with Buck, at which Buck knocked him down with a punch, supposedly. Brian Alvarez, he noted that everyone was very sympathetic towards Buck. He said that he didn't hear anyone defending what Kaz had did, and rightfully so. After being taken out of the building, Kaz would end up speaking to police outside, and police were reportedly concerned by some of the things that Kaz had said in a very loud demeanor, and Kaz was eventually transported to a local hospital. Now, Janela did follow up on some of those things that had happened. He did release a little bit of a statement on Twitter. He said, not going to elaborate at all on this whole ordeal, besides it was probably the bizarre situation I've ever seen, let alone been a part of in a wrestling locker room in 15 years. Everything was cordial and friendly Friday, and I hope the dude gets back on the right track. So that is just, just processing that. That doesn't look good. I know some people want to look at this story and they want to say, nah, man, this has to be some type of, it has to be part of a running gag. No, I'm not picking up that vibe. My 2 cents from a distance. Very rare. I bet money. Very, very rare. Okay. But in this instance, I would put down money, and I would say with confidence, nah, man, especially considering some of the mental health problems that Kaz has been having pretty much since post WWE. Then you think about that seizure that had came about with him some months back. Remember that? Ever since he left WWE, remember his weight had blossomed up, and we barely had recognized the guy. He was a lot bigger, wasn't toned up at all. He looked, if it's even possible to say this, but he looked even worse than Cassius Ohno currently, right? So, he just up and down, mentally just up and down. So I don't know what's going on with him. I sincerely wish him nothing but the best. I'm not going to tell somebody how they need to live their life. I'm not going to tell somebody what they need to do. Okay? But if you were to ask me over a drink, Lee, just hypothetically speaking, man, like, you could talk to this dude, what would you say to him? I honestly would say to him, look, if you're staying with some relatives, if you're staying with some friends, and if they can swing it as far as you not paying anything for rent or your portion of the mortgage for the next couple of months, take it. Take it, because some of these problems that I've been hearing about with Cass so far, I can't help but say, okay, you know what? Don't worry about the wrestling right now. Don't worry about that. Get your head, get your heart all checked out. They gotta be synced up. Get yourself in the right frame of mind, right? Take care of yourself first. Take care of the mind, the body, and soul. And once you feel that you officially are done with whatever demons, whatever it is, if then you decide, okay, you know what, now that I've taken care of this, it's one day at a time, but now that I have a better grip on this, yeah, I think now I'm okay. I can get on back out there. I can go on the road, and I should be okay from here on out. But there's a couple of things so far that's just really making me raise my eyebrow and say, I don't really think wrestling should be really on his mind right now. And I know we had some of those reports that was floating around about how talk was, maybe he was going to go back to the WWE. And, look, of course, WWE, they're going to say what they're going to say. They're going to put out their respective press release, and it is what it is, right? So Kaz, Enzo, they say what they're gonna say, right? It's all about getting the attention. It's all about getting those clicks, those hits, all that shit when it's all said and done, okay? But this is a much bigger issue, If I'm a guy like Kaz, I'm not worried about whether or not I can get back in good graces with the WWE. I'm not worried about that right now, because that's irrelevant right now. When you have an incident like this that had went down over the weekend, the last thing on your mind needs to be, man, so does this mess me up even further getting back into the good graces of WWE? Does this mess me up getting back into the fold with those guys? You don't need to worry about any of that right now. What I'm putting out there is no different than what I had said when Adam Rose was having the problems that he was having. And now, man, talk about a guy that is drastically different now when you see how he's looking physically and everything. So, I don't like hearing this. I hope that, look, unless Kaz and through Enzo are able to talk about this a little bit more and shed more light on the matter, what we know right now is more than enough. And I think, honestly, the best thing we can do is have the big man in our thoughts. Send him nothing but well wishes, and whatever it is that's going on, hopefully he's able to knock these out, right? But I would just say, let's not pry, because I know usually when some stuff like this goes down, we all want more information. We all want to know, what happened, give us a little bit more. And I don't really think we should pry. At this point, let the other people involved in this incident, if they want to, let them speak upon what had went down. But, until then, let's respect them. Let's give them their privacy. And again, hopefully he can squash some of that shit that's going on with him. Yeah. So, yeah, but I was a little bit sad when I had heard that. I legitimately was. Shout out to Tamina. In case you guys don't know, Tamina Snuka, she actually had made her return at a live event on Saturday night. She was in a match against Natalia. She actually had lost that effort. So as you all know, Tamina had suffered her injury couple of months back, so she's pretty much been gone since. And yeah, she's back into the fold once again there. And congrats to John Cena. John Cena has officially joined the cast of the Suicide Squad sequel. My man John Cena, that's good. I'm legitimately happy to hear that things are really going well for him. as far as Hollywood goes. But I mean, just everything from a PR standpoint. I mean, I think even you guys got to admit, even the most hardcore anti John Cena fans would have to admit that when it comes to red carpet, when it comes to doing something on the Today Show, or doing something on Nickelodeon, you name it, John Cena is just, he makes it look so freaking natural. He's almost like the Joe Namath, but for wrestling and what he was able to do. And what I mean by that is they didn't call Joe Namath Broadway Joe for no reason. Like, pretty much everything that this guy was able to do outside of football with regards to Hollywood was fucking money. You need Namath in a commercial, cha-ching, like his name, just the way he carried himself, everything just freaking sold, and he was really good at what he was able to do. And so you look at a guy like John Cena that's been able to make the transition from pro wrestling to what he's doing now. It's great. Yeah, it may never be in the ranks of a Dwayne The Rock Johnson or anything like that, but it's a damn good close second. And you just got to give him his props for that. I still feel in my heart of hearts that, John Cena, he still needs to get that proper send-off from the WWE. And I can't remember when we talked about this. I remember it was on a post show. It felt like maybe it was after WrestleMania or something like that, I want to say. But I remember saying something along the lines of, hey, we see where this pay-per-view is going to be coming up next year. It would be really badass if you use that as an opportunity to retire John Cena. Because it kind of looks as though at the rate he's going, he's really not going to have time for WWE anymore. So why not retire him, and then the year later you put him in the Hall of Fame? And maybe you guys could help me out and look at the 2020 pay-per-view calendar and see what it was I was talking about. But there was WWE pay-per-view, I think it was one of the major four, and I had said, okay, yeah, that time next year, that'd be a good opportunity to maybe retire him, right? Because if not then when are you going to do it? So, but some people may say, nah, that kind of still feels like it's a little bit further down the line. That kind of feels like maybe we're about 3 to 5 years out from that. Stranger things have happened, man. Stranger things have happened. Hey, I want to give a shout out to the women of Shine Wrestling. They've got a really good card that's going to be coming up this weekend. Check this out, and you guys can order this on the WWN Live website for the Shine Championship match. I know it's been a good minute since we talked about Shine, right? I'm trying to get back into the rotation of talking about some promotions that I haven't been keeping tabs on in a good minute. That honestly, I'll put it to you like this: when I was looking at WoW last season and then what I've seen these past 2 episodes, I said, damn, you know what, dog? I got to get a little bit more into the women's wrestling and really trying to support them more. Damn, what's going on with Shine? So from here on out, we're going to start any type of little news from Shine or Shimmer. We're definitely going to throw those things in there. And if we can make it happen, we'll definitely, one thing I'm going to start doing in our Discord, because I've been playing around with some new software. And one cool thing that I can do in the Discord is stream things. So I think on those months where I decide I want to check out a Shine or a Shimmer pay-per-view, I will actually have it set up in the Discord where you can watch the stream right along with me. So, and we can mingle, all that good stuff. But check this out. And a lot of these names are familiar, okay? They should be familiar to you because you've either seen them in Impact Wrestling or you saw them at some point in WWE, ROH, you name it. We've got for the Shine Championship, we've got Allison Kay defending against the Shine Nova champion Shotzi Blackheart. Las Secaras collide. Mercedes Martinez takes on one of my all-time favorites, man. The beautiful, the lovely, the talented Ivelisse Velez. From you name it, man. Lucha Underground, from Impact Wrestling, and you name it, man. Ivelisse Velez. Also, Shine Tag Team Championship match, no DQ, no count out, New York Street Fight, Rainbow Bright of Luscious Tasha and Gabby Gilbert. Rainbow Bright, you should know Gabby Gilbert. Wow. Thank wow. That's all I'll say. They defend against the Triple I of Aja, Pereira, and Ariel Monroe with Ala. Brandy Lauren takes on Alex Garcia. Natalie Markova takes on Chris Statlander. BTY of Marty Bell and Jamie Jameson take on Lindy Snow and Jenna. And you got the Cutie Pie Club of Candy Cartwright and Double D Rose taking on Avery Taylor and Brittany Blake. You also got Tina San Antonio versus Notorious Nada. So it's going to be a pretty solid card that's going to be coming up. Again, Shine 61. It's going to happen this Saturday, September 21st. It's going to come on at 3 p.m. Eastern. So if you guys plan on checking it out, you can definitely order it on WWN. And I don't know if I'll be checking it out just yet. I got to see how things are looking as far as cap space goes, because most of my money these days is going towards my damn wedding next year. So we'll wait and see how that is. Also, I want to give a shout out to the Queen of Extreme and EC Original, Francine. She earlier today had launched her own podcast. She's somebody I've been following on Twitter for a couple of months now, ever since honestly she joined Twitter. And I've checked out a couple of her YouTube streams and everything. And if you remember her from back in the old ECW days and everything, and you're like, whoa, she's doing a podcast now? Yes, she's doing a podcast now. First episode is out right now. It's called Eyes Up Here. Eyes Up Here. So check that out. I listened to a little bit of it, and yeah, I like it. I like it. Impact Wrestling. Let's talk Impact Wrestling for a little bit here. So we did talk about last week how Impact Wrestling, through the company Anthem Sports and Entertainment, how basically they've acquired a majority controlling interest in AXS TV. And they've also, something that might have been missed through the press releases that came out, they've also been able to obtain, I want to say HD Net. You guys know about that network. They show nothing but movies in HD, right? So they've acquired both of those, right? So we're like, okay, so Impact Wrestling is going to have a home. Okay, great. If you watched WOW this past weekend, you would have seen every commercial break they were doing the graphics for Impact Wrestling. And as it stands right now, even when you look at the official press release, all you know right now is immediately after Bound for Glory, Impact Wrestling is supposed to be on AXS. So you're kind of under the impression, okay, so Sunday after Bound for Glory, the new week that comes, okay, before that week is out, we're supposed to get a new Impact on, I guess, AXS TV. So the only question is, what's the day and what's the time? One thing that for you MMA fans, it looks like AXS TV is going to be done with MMA. You know how they were normally showing a whole bunch of independent MMA fights and all that? Kind of looks like they're going to be done with that. But in a follow-up to that, from what we were reporting last week, Ed Nordholm, he actually had spoke about, what exactly is the future of New Japan Pro Wrestling and WOW programming, because ever since this happened, a lot of people are like, oh man, what does this mean for, the rest of these promotions that I love? Like, are these guys going to go away now that Anthem is in there? Are they going to bump them off and just try to make it be all about them? Like, what the fuck is going on? So Impact and Anthem Wrestling president Ed Nordholm, he spoke about it and he said, and I quote, Anthem has been public that it has not made any decisions regarding current programming. We have been longtime broadcast partners with TV Asha for New Japan Pro Wrestling at Fight Network and hope to build on that relationship. We are in the middle of a season with WOW and about to tape another series of episodes next week. So no reason to make any decisions there in the short term. We're looking forward to getting to know them better. And in case you guys don't know, New Japan Pro Wrestling's current deal on AXS TV, that's going to run through January of 2020. So, I mean, just a couple of more months. And so as far as what's going to happen with New Japan, I mean, I'd be shocked if New Japan rolled out of AXS TV. I really, really would be shocked. Also, while we're talking about AXS TV, if you're not doing anything this Friday night, you want to check out some wrestling for free, you have AXS TV. Check it out. You are going to be able to see AAA invading New York. It's going to be this Friday night at 8 p.m. And some of you guys, you may not know, this actually went down. What was it? It went down Sunday, if I'm not mistaken. It went down Sunday. But you're going to be able to see it all in its entirety on AXS TV for free. So you can't beat that. That's fucking good. Listen to the card so far. You've got Chris Dickinson, and this is basically an Impact Wrestling AAA collaboration, mind you. So you've got Chris Dickinson and Mascarita Dorada taking on Dave the Clown and Damas. Josh Alexander, Michael Elgin, and Sammy Callahan, they're taking on Drago, Fabi Apache, and Murder Clown. Daga, let's see here. It looks like it's a fatal four-way. So we got Daga, Puma King, Aerostar, and Flamita. It's a fatal four-way match to determine the number one contender for the AAA World Cruiserweight Championship. Taya Valkyrie takes on Tessa Blanchard. It's a singles match for the AAA Reina de Renas Championship. Hopefully I pronounced that right. I'm working on it, folks. Don't beat me up too bad. Lucha Brothers, Phoenix and Pentagon Jr. take on Ortiz and Santana. It's a tag team match for the AAA tag titles. Brian Cage, Kane Velasquez. I think I said it right the first time. I always mispronounce his name. And Psycho Clown, they take on Texano Jr., Taurus, and Ray is Scorpion. It's a 6-man tag team match. And you got a no disqualification match as Dr. Wagner Jr. takes on Blue Demon Jr. So if you guys are looking for a little bit of a nice, cool alternative or whatever, there you go right there. Check that out. Once again, you've got AAA invading New York. It is a Impact Wrestling and AAA collaboration. You'll be able to see that on AXS TV this Friday night at 8 p.m. Eastern. Good shit, man. I'm definitely going to be watching that, so I'll probably be tweeting with you guys while that is on. Also, NXT, we're talking Evolve now. NXT's Cassius Ohno, he's been added to this month's Evolve events in New York City. We've got Ohno taking on Josh Briggs for Evolve 135 in Brooklyn on Friday, September 20th. Ohno will also face Walter, the current NXT UK World Heavyweight Champion. That's going to be happening at Evolve 136 in Queens, New York on Saturday, September 21st. So just going through the card real quick here. Okay, so for Friday, September 20th, there's a lot of shit this weekend, guys. Evolve 135, you've got the United Kingdom champion Walter taking on JD Drake in a non-title match. Cassius Ohno, we mentioned, taking on Josh Briggs. AR Fox, Leon Ruff, and Liam Gray take on Eddie Kingston, Joe Gacy, and Colby Corino. Evolution's Edge tournament elimination match. Anthony Gutierrez takes on Karam and Sean Maluda. Also, Stephen Wolf. You got the Evolution's Edge tournament elimination match. Anthony Green taking on Brandon Taggart, Kurt Stallion, and Daniel Garcia. You got the Evolve champion Austin Theory will be taking on Babatunde in a non-title matchup. Arturo Ruiz takes on John Silver. Harlem Bravado takes on Adrian Alanis. And you got more with Anthony Henry, Shotzi Blackheart, others. And then so far for the Evolve 136 card on Saturday the 21st, you've got the Evolve champion Austin Theory defending against Josh Briggs. We already told you about Walter taking on Cassius, non-title matchup. You got a 2 out of 3 falls match. The Skulk takes on the Unwanted. JD Drake takes on Anthony Henry. Evolution's Edge tournament finals. And then you got more with Babatunde, Arturo Ruiz, Harlem Bravado, Shotzi Blackheart, and others. So check that out. That's going to be some pretty awesome good shit. And also, want to give a couple of quick shout outs. I'm seeing a little bit of conflicting reports out there. Nothing really is confirmed just yet, but apparently something had happened as far as a health scare with Dog the Bounty Hunter. And as we all know, just a couple of months ago, Dog the Bounty Hunter had lost his wife, and very unfortunate. But I don't know if, I hate to speculate, I don't know, just the stress, the losing her and all of that, if maybe it kind of took its toll on him. But you've got conflicting reports that's being put out there that maybe he had suffered some type of a heart attack or whatnot, a stroke or something. So he was taken to the hospital. Publicist agency, they did put out a statement and basically said, yeah, he's being tracked out. Appreciate everybody's thoughts and prayers. We'll have more information as it becomes available. So they're kind of being a little bit tight-lipped right now. But the reports that's being put out there is that potentially he may have suffered some type of a stroke, some type of a heart attack or whatever. So you guys that were maybe fans of his, definitely send your thoughts and your prayers to him. Also, we talked about it on Sunday, but I definitely want to reiterate again. Nothing but thoughts, condolences, prayers to the family, friends, fans all around the world. We lost a really good one. I mean, besides losing Eddie Money, 2 Tickets to Paradise, Take Me Home Tonight, we lost a late 70s, 80s icon in Rick Ocasek, the lead singer for the Cars. And I talked about it on Sunday, but I just can't help but reiterate it again. Man, I can add a new layer to this now. And I was talking to my girl about this earlier. I said, man, can you just believe, like, some of these guys that we grew up watching when we were kids in the 80s, how heartbreaking it is that when MTV came about and then eventually VH1 came about, and we're seeing all of these great acts and everything, how depressing it is to really realize that when we see and hear about these guys that are passing, we're one step closer to our own ending immortality, and a lot of favorites. I mean, when it comes to the Cars, you can't help but be like, man, like if you were to say to somebody, what's your favorite Cars song or what's your favorite Cars album? It's like, dude, don't make me go in that direction, because a lot of this shit that they put out is so good. Like, they've got to be one of a few handful of bands where, like, you could just grab any album and you can just listen to it and you're good to go. Like, no fucking problems whatsoever. You can listen to the shit from beginning to end. There's not too many bands that's like that, And I found myself on my commute to and from work today, I was just in rotation. Because I told you guys last night, I got like a decent amount of Cars albums on my iTunes, but I love to usually just go with a compilation joint, so I don't have to keep swapping out. At least I can listen to a compilation joint and I can listen to it for a long period of time. But yeah, I found myself going to and from work today. I was just jamming like a mother to the Cars, and it's sad. I mean, look, you can't feel too bad, because he went out in a way that, like, man, if that's how we can go out, right? Hey, damn, that's a good way to go out. And for those of you that missed it, he went out apparently peacefully. He was found by his estranged ex-wife. They had been separate for basically a year and everything, and they were still very cordial with each other and everything, very friendly with one another. She basically came by his place, or what was once their place, at like 4 p.m. and found his body. He basically was in the bed. That's how she found him. So, I mean, to basically go out like that, who wouldn't want to go out like that? I think if anything, I know some people like, man, but be nice to kind of say goodbye to people if, you go to sleep and it's like, shit, you don't wake back up. It's like, well, that's just unfortunately how it is sometimes, guys. We don't really have control. To a degree, we have control over how we die. So, for example, if you just keep vaping and you keep smoking cigarettes, you do crack or whatever, there's ramifications of that, right? So, you can be a little bit mindful about what you're putting into your body and hopefully get as many mileage from your body as possible. But, to have the choice of, okay, car crash, freak accident on the train, bus, you know what I'm saying? You're riding your bicycle, or okay, you're gonna go to bed, you're gonna have a nice meal, you're gonna chat on the phone with your friend or whatever, yada yada yada, and that's pretty much it. You go to bed for the night, boom, that's it, you're gone. So Rick Ocasek, Godspeed, man. God, I love the Cars, love the fucking Cars, man. Big fucking fan of theirs. And very sad, very fucking sad. And seeing what you guys are saying in the chat here. I got QRW. He's saying Rusev makes me want to work hard in the gym. You, me both, man. I mean, I'm doing okay. I've lost a decent amount of weight since I began dieting, and the timing was kind of cool too, because the dieting had pretty much kicked in right when I began my Invisalign treatment. So for those of you maybe wanting a new update, I've done good. I know I was giving you guys updates telling you how I kept losing buttons. I've actually been okay. The last time I lost a button was actually it was right before the weekend. Now, before you guys snicker, understand something. I hadn't lost a button in about 2 months, ever since my girl Sierra had showed me the proper way to take my aligners out, because she saw it. For those of you that have used the Invisaligns, or you're currently using them, you probably had to learn the hard way, but like, you don't want to basically go in with your nails and basically and then pull the motherfuckers off. It's like, that's how you're gonna fuck your buttons up. Don't do that for the top, don't do that for the bottom. So basically the way you got to do it is, and I guess I could give you guys a little bit of a display right now, right? I could do it for you guys right now. So basically you take your fingers. I'll do this for those of you that maybe are having a little bit of difficulty, right? So you take your 2 fingers, right? You go in the side, right? And then you pull out towards your cheek. Keep pulling as best as you can. All right. Okay. And when it feels like it's not going to go any further, teach its own. Then you go in the front. Come up here. And just a little loose. A little tug. Come on here. Okay. And just like that. Plain and simple, do it just like that. You repeat the same process at the bottom. You take them out, same thing, all right? Now, it could be a little bit tricky depending on what's going on with those bottom teeth of yours, right? You may have one particular tooth where, okay, before I lift it up, I got to come over here and loosen that up a little bit more, and then I can just go to front there at the bottom, and I could just pop it off easily. So the best advice I can give is like, you gotta pace yourself, you gotta have patience, and you gotta just make sure it's going to be different, but that's basically the essential blueprint that you want to follow every single time. I'll go ahead and leave these out because I gotta actually brush my teeth anyway and all that. So see, what else can we talk about while we're still doing the show? I was still reading the comments here from what you guys were saying here. Let's see here. OC, what else? The Fiend is the best character since Kane's debut in '97. Anybody agree or disagree? God, Austin, you really took me back, man. Yeah, I definitely would say since Kane, yeah, I definitely would go. I'll match you. I'll jump out there with you. Like, just thinking about, you know, if you want to go that whole demonic, you know, sadistic, you talking about like a dark character like that, then as far as in the realm of the WWE, yeah, what Bray Wyatt has been able to do with the Fiend gimmick, I mean, it is. You want to talk about good bright spots in the WWE, man, what Bray Wyatt has been able to do with that character. And if he wants to continue to do that, I mean, can you just imagine where the Fiend is probably going to be a year from now, 3 years from now, he's really been able to tap into something that has some great longevity to it. I mean, I think he hit pay dirt. You see how well it's worked for The Undertaker. You see how well it's worked for Kane. I just can't help but wonder, like, with a gimmick like that, man, sky's the limit, man. And I know I was kind of teasing it earlier, but like the shit that he can do with a guy like Sting, what he could eventually do with a guy like Undertaker. I mean, look, wishful thinking with Sting, but man, Sting has let it be no secret. And even in the most recent Q&A he did that we recorded for you guys to hear, it's on the YouTube channel from what he did at AwesomeCon earlier this year. Bray Wyatt is somebody he was saying this. He was very complimentary of Bray Wyatt way before the Fiend even came out. He was like, Bray Wyatt, he's like, that's a guy I can see myself really having a lot of fun with. Man, but you want to talk about like some personal dream matches, like for me, just with that Fiend gimmick, definitely Taker, definitely Sting, Sami Callihan. I think Sami Callihan would have some fucking fun with a guy like fucking Bray Wyatt. I think they would have a very interesting John Moxley. God, I sometimes kind of wish that Dean would be there right now, but I like what's going on with Moxley now. I like that it's the return of Moxley, but a guy like Moxley and Bray Wyatt, oh, that'd be badass. The ship has sailed, sadly, but Bray Wyatt, Mankind, not that hokey dokey Shift Boyardee, not that, black tie, white shirt bullshit. No, give me vintage Mankind that had hair missing from his scalp, that was wearing the brown attire, face was covered up, predominantly, the form mirror was showing big time. Give me that retro freaking Mankind, right? Give me that one. Give me that Mankind that just went balls out on Jim Ross during that whole interview process and everything. Give me that Mankind. Man, it's like just the combinations that you could do with that Fiend gimmick, man. It is freaking endless. It is freaking endless. I don't know how, I kind of have an idea how he looks. I don't know if he would be interested in maybe doing something on a limited run, if it was done just right. But man, Boogeyman, not Boogeyman, I'm sorry. I know how he looks, but Boogeyman and Bray Wyatt, that would be badass. Not for nothing, but Boogeyman is actually a pretty decent wrestler, right? He may not be a Kurt Angle or a Benoit or whatever, or Hitman Bret Hart, but he's a decent wrestler. The guy I was thinking was Papa Shango, right? I mean, just the dream combos, man. Like, we'd be here all night just talking about like the different stuff that he might be able to do, But yeah, good shit. I'm looking at the stream right now, and I'm seeing where you guys are at right now and watching the show, and you guys are just now hitting the Invisalign joint. I think that's fucking hilarious. But anyway, there's really nothing else I want to get into. So what's going to happen is I'm going to say the show is done for now. We pretty much almost done an hour and 27 minutes. So we're going to go ahead and cut off right here. When I get ready to mix the show up, I will include talk of what came about from SmackDown for this week. And then also for the downloads, for those of you that do go out of your way to check out what I laid out as far as that wrestling bullshit with that website. Like I said, it's a free-for-all. It's on Patreon. You got nothing to lose, right? You like me. You enjoy what you get every single week. You never checked out some Patreon content. Go out of your way and check out patreon.com/RCWR Show. The episode you want to grab, it's the latest one that's out. It's basically titled Raj Al Ghul. Raj Al Ghul can suck it. Or is this the RCWR Show? You'll know it when you see it. It's free for you to download. Check it out. And then that will get you set up in preparation for what I'll say on demand and on the downloads, because we have a follow-up to that story as there was some new developments that had came about. And if there's any other little triggers of wrestling news or whatever, I'll be sure to include it. But I'm thinking the way the show is probably going to be laid out, once I include some bonus content for demand and on the downloads. I think the show will probably end up being about an hour and 45 minutes, give or take. So that's not really too bad at all, right? So check that out. And in the meantime, be kind, rewind, check out previous episodes you may have missed on demand, on the downloads, all over the place, man, on all of your favorite listening devices and platforms. Just use the keywords, the RCWR Show. You love what I do every single week. Support the show. Support the show by Patreon. If you check out the show in iTunes or Stitcher or whatever platform, leave the ratings, leave the reviews. It really helps more people discover the show. And it always puts a smile on my face when I read some of the reviews and people talk about how they discovered the show and how they were a big fan and all that other shit. Maybe we can get into some more shout outs on next week's show, because I did see there was a couple of new reviews that had kicked in. So just remember that you love the show, and you're like, man, I wish I could support the show from a monetary standpoint, but I can't. Well, the next best thing you can do is go out of your way, leave a rating, leave a review, and definitely engage. Stay connected to me on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, YouTube. Use the keywords, the RCWR Show. Once again, shout out to those of you that follow me on Twitter. I picked up like a decent amount of new followers as a result, again, of what I had said about that whole website bullshit tied into the Patreon thing. There's a lot of people that appreciated what I had said. So if you didn't check that out, go check it out. And you can definitely get at me on social media and let me know your thoughts about that whole situation as well. Okay? So that is going to do it. I want for all of y'all to be safe and most importantly, be kind to one another. I'll see you guys next go round. A very good night and a very good morning.